Days passed and the house felt like a hollow shell. I went through the motions, but everything was tainted by what I had seen. I couldn't look at Daniel without seeing it play out in my head. The way he touched Ethan, the quiet intimacy they shared that had nothing to do with me. Every sound in the house became a trigger. Footsteps in the hallway, a phone vibrating on the table, the creak of the floorboards above. I had become a stranger in my own life, trapped in a space that no longer felt safe or mine. Daniel tried to talk to me, tried to explain, but there was nothing left to say. The damage was irreversible, and I told him so. I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I simply stated the truth. That trust, once shattered like this, could never be repaired. The look on his face told me he knew it too. Ethan avoided me entirely, his presence like a ghost that drifted through the house. The few times our eyes met, there was no apology in his expression, just a blank, unbothered stare, as if I was an inconvenience, an obstacle to be ignored. That silence spoke louder than any words ever could. I packed a small bag, left the house, and went to stay with a friend for a few days. It wasn't much, but it gave me the space I needed to breathe. The weight of it all settled in my chest, a constant ache that dulled but never fully disappeared. I replayed every moment in my mind, searching for signs I had missed, wondering how I could have been so blind. The betrayal wasn't just about the act itself, it was the secrecy, the deception, the fact that they had built something behind my back while I was trying to hold our family together. There were no easy answers. I didn't tell anyone the full story. How could I? How could I look someone in the eye and explain that my husband had betrayed me with his own son? The shame clung to me like a second skin, suffocating and inescapable. I questioned everything, my worth, my choices, my ability to trust. It wasn't just a marriage that had ended, it was the future I had imagined, the family I thought I was part of. That version of my house life no longer existed, and I was left to pick up the pieces alone. Eventually, I returned to the house, but it wasn't home anymore. We coexisted in silence for a while, until I told Daniel I was leaving for good. He didn't argue. He just nodded, his eyes hollow, defeated. I walked out the door without looking back, the weight of it heavy but necessary. There was no closure, no sense of peace, just the cold, hard reality of what had been lost. And as I stepped away from it all, I realized there was no going back, only forward, whatever that meant. I couldn't pretend anymore. That night, I confronted Daniel. The air was thick, charged with tension, my words sharp and trembling as I asked him the question I never thought I'd have to ask. He didn't deny it. His face shifted, something between shame and defiance, and that was all the confirmation I needed. His voice, low and strained, tried to offer explanations about confusion, about mistakes, about feelings he didn't understand. I listened, but each word felt like a slap, and the weight of it crushed my chest. I asked him how long. He hesitated, then admitted it had been going on for months. Months. The sense of betrayal deepened, cutting through my skin, leaving me exposed and raw. I turned to Ethan, expecting some hint of remorse, an apology, anything, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. He stood there, arms crossed, silent, as if I was the one intruding on something that wasn't mine to question. I could feel my throat tightening, my breath shallow and sharp. The rage bubbled under the surface, but what stunned me more was the emptiness in Ethan's face. No shame, no regret, just a calm, detached gaze that made my skin crawl. It wasn't a mistake to him. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was something he had chosen. And Daniel had chosen it too. The room felt cold, like the walls themselves had shifted, pushing me out. I heard myself asking why, over and over again, the words spilling out like a broken record. Daniel's answers blurred together, excuses, justifications, moments of weakness. He tried to say it wasn't about me, that I hadn't done anything wrong. as if that was supposed to make it better. The audacity of that statement made my hands clench into fists. I hadn't done anything wrong, as if I should accept this, as if my pain was irrelevant compared to the mess they had created. I wanted to scream, to tear the house apart, to make them feel the devastation I felt, but I couldn't move. My body betrayed me. Frozen, every nerve raw. I felt tears streaking down my face, but I didn't bother to wipe them away. The realization sank in deeper. They had chosen each other over me. There was no going back from this, no repair, no apology that could ever touch the core of what had been broken. I asked Daniel what he planned to do now. His face crumpled like he hadn't thought that far, as if it wasn't real until I said it out loud. I left him standing there, silent and useless. My mind spiraled, questions crashing into each other, none of them with answers that would make sense. My home, my marriage, my sense of reality, it was all gone, fractured beyond recognition. All I could feel was the unbearable weight of what I now knew and the emptiness left in its place. The day it happened, I wasn't supposed to be home. My shift at work had been cancelled unexpectedly, and I decided not to call Daniel. Part of me wanted to see how things were when I wasn't expected. A test, maybe, to confirm the feelings that had been gnawing at me. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet, almost staged. I set down my bag, listened, and heard a sound that sent a jolt through me. Soft, rhythmic, unmistakable. My breath caught in my throat as I moved toward the source, every step feeling like I was dragging my body through molasses. The voices were muffled, but the tone was unmistakable. Low, intimate, punctuated by gasps. My heart raced in my chest, my palms clammy. I had never felt such a visceral mix of dread and adrenaline. When I reached the bedroom, the door wasn't fully closed, just enough of a gap to see what I shouldn't have. My eyes fixed on the reflection in the mirror across from the bed, and in that single moment, the world as I knew it shattered. Daniel, my husband, was with Ethan. They were tangled together, bodies moving in a way that stripped the breath from my lungs. For a split second, my brain refused to comprehend what I was seeing. My stomach twisted, bile rising in my throat as I tried to steady myself against the wall. My husband's hand in his son's hair, the way their bodies fit together, the sounds escaping their lips. Every detail burned into my mind, an image I knew I would never erase. I felt paralyzed, my thoughts racing in chaos. I should have left, walked away, screamed, done something, but my feet were cemented to the floor. The disbelief was suffocating, wrapping around my chest like a vice. My husband, the man I had trusted, the person I had built a life with, betraying me in a way I couldn't have imagined in my darkest thoughts, and with his own son. The betrayal twisted deeper, cutting into me with a raw, jagged edge that left me breathless. The sounds from the room continued, oblivious to my presence. Every fiber in me wanted to storm in, to demand answers, to make them see the pain they had caused, but something held me back. A kind of sick curiosity or a desperate need to confirm that what I was seeing wasn't just a nightmare. I felt like an intruder in my own life, a silent observer of something I was never meant to witness. My vision blurred with tears, my heart pounding in my ears. I could feel the heat rising in my face, the shaking of my hands, the sense of my entire reality crumbling beneath me. The image of them together burned itself into my mind, a permanent scar I knew I would carry forever. I never imagined my life would turn into this. For the longest time, I believed I had built something solid, a marriage, a home, a sense of peace. My husband Daniel was the type of man who seemed steady, dependable, the kind of person who remembered to bring home milk and left the porch light on for me when I worked late. We met when I was 28, both of us weathered by life. Him a single father with a young son, and me eager for a family of my own. I stepped into the role of stepmother willingly, if a little naive, thinking I could fill the gaps left by his ex-wife's absence. And for a while it worked, or at least I thought it did. Our home was modest but warm, a 2-story with creaky floors and family photos lining the walls. I liked to believe we were happy, even if there were signs I sometimes chose to ignore. Daniel worked late often, claiming deadlines and client dinners, and I told myself it was normal. His son Ethan had grown into a young man faster than I was ready for, taller than me now, with a quiet confidence that made me nervous at times. We weren't close, not really. I tried to be the cool, understanding stepmom, but there was always a distance. I figured it was just the way things were, a natural line drawn between parent and stepchild. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting. It started with small things. Ethan would avoid eye contact when I asked about his day. Daniel would glance at his phone during dinner, a faint smile tugging at his lips when a message came through. Once I walked into the kitchen and found them talking in hushed voices, both of them falling silent the moment I entered. Daniel brushed it off, just a discussion about college applications, he said. But the tightness in my chest didn't ease. My mind began to wander, spiraling into worst-case scenarios. I told myself I was being paranoid. What reason would I have to distrust them? I was the outsider here, wasn't I? Late at night, I'd lie in bed listening to the quiet creaks of the house, the distant sound of a phone vibrating, muffled voices through the wall. I told myself it was normal, that teenage boys stayed up late, that husbands got distracted with work. I clung to that idea, convincing myself it was harmless, that I was the one overthinking. But doubt has a way of seeping into the cracks, and soon it was all I could think about: Daniel's absences, Ethan's quiet demeanor, the way the air shifted when I walked into a room. My chest felt heavy with unspoken questions, the kind that weighed down every moment, every glance, every awkward silence. And so I watched and waited, not yet ready to confront what I feared might already be true.